Today's mental health check, the recent abrupt resignations of Miss USA and Miss Teen USA are reigniting the conversation about mental health and beauty standards. Research shows the pressure to live up to the beauty ideals set by society can lead to eating disorders, depression, anxiety, self-esteem issues, and even social isolation. Joining me now, Miss America 2014, Nina Davuluri, and Miss USA 2013, Erin Brady. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So I want to acknowledge there can be a lot of misconceptions about pageants and those who participate in them. But the recent headlines we've seen are not happening in a silo, right? I think specifically of Erin Chesley Christ, and she struggled with mental health and actually died by suicide back in 2022. And for me, it raises the question, is there an institutional issue with the Miss USA and Miss America pageants that we repeatedly see some of these challenges come up with those participating in them?
Absolutely. I mean, 100%. I actually started speaking out about this as well. I gave a TED Talk called The Cost of Beauty from a Miss America. And I think one of the things that not only pageants do, but society does, is that they have set up these unrealistic and unattainable, impossible standards. And that's been magnified now with social media. And when we see these young girls who are on TikTok and the Sephora craze, right, it's to reach this unattainable image that we are selling them. And I think pageants have been a part of that, but it's also a broader society that's been a part of that as well.
What about yourself?
Yeah, and I also think that for, competitors like ourselves, it was 10 years ago, so social media was not a huge factor. I didn't have a personal social media. It was just Miss USA. So I also think that mental health in just the public eye has become such a huge topic. So to be able to kind of see the negative impacts and to see the social media, like how crazy that has become and how it has affected the young women, it's a scary, scary thing.
Yeah, and Nina, you mentioned social media. What specifically about social media do you think is amplifying some of these negative effects of how people are perceiving themselves? I know on the break we were talking about even colorism coming up.
Yes, thank you. So my documentary is called Complexion, and it's about colorism in the skin whitening industry. And when we even think about filters, right, beauty filters, are they using filters to make your skin lighter? Why is that attainable? And the younger generation doesn't really have the skills quite yet to discern what's real and what's not real. And I think, unfortunately, we're in this place where the change has to come from the collective, because we can't just say, well, get off social media, then you won't have anxiety or depression. Right. But then they're going to have FOMO, fear of missing out from seeing all of their friends participating in it. So it really has to come from all of us sitting down and saying, what are we going to do collectively to prevent this suicide and mental illness to keep happening?
Erin, I wonder, how did you maintain your mental health as you were going through this process during your tenure? And I know you're a mom now. I wonder how you even pass it on to your kids.
Yeah, I was very lucky. During my reign, I had a lot of support, not just from my family and friends, but from the organization. They offered therapy for us to go and actually sit and speak with somebody to talk about the crazy stardom that literally happened to us in a 24-hour time frame. So I had heavily relied on the organization. They were like my little intimate family. I was plucked out of my small town and dropped in the middle of New York City, which is chaotic and crazy. I was typing numbers in Excel, and then overnight I was walking red carpets, right? Nobody prepares you for that. Never mind the keyboard courage that people get to comment on everything from your head to your toe. You're not ready for that. So I really thought I had a wonderful support system, both with the organization and with my own personal network.
Briefly, to both of you, in a sentence, what would you change about your experience as Miss America, Miss USA, and what do you think generally needs to change about these pageants?
I did not have that support. I did not have therapy or access to mental health throughout my year. And so for me, that didn't start until many years later of unraveling the identity of thinking I fed into these beauty standards and I won the game. I thought that if I won Miss America, I was going to be happy, and that's actually not true. And that has to come from yourself.
Erin, what about you, just briefly?
Yeah, no, I think for transparency, right? I think there needs to be more transparency. There needs to be trust. I really, if looking back, I would have just said, Erin, you need to just be okay with who you are and kind of let everything else fall to the wayside.
Well, thank you both for sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
Erin and Nina, such a pleasure to have you. And for anyone struggling with mental health, you can always call 988.